Thank you for joining us for a look at PPAI's advocacy efforts. In particular, last week's Legislative Education and Action Day, or LEAD. I am Rachel Zock, PPAI's Public Affairs Manager, and today we will cover the national issues most critical to our industry, which we discussed with lawmakers during LEAD, how PPAI advocates on your behalf year-round, and how you can help amplify that message, what our partners are hearing in Washington, and the legislative outlook heading into the 2026 midterm elections this fall. We'll also hear from a couple of members who attended LEAD and share ways that each of you can get involved to help support the industry. Let's start with a quick overview of our activities. PPAI advocates on your behalf year-round with a variety of actions, both scheduled and in response to new developments. Those actions include regular check-ins with our partners in Washington, and we'll hear from them in a few minutes. The PPAI Government Relations Action Council, or GRAC, is a dozen plus members who meet monthly to discuss the issues and how we want to respond. We provide regular updates through PPAI Media and through the association's social channels. PPAI also sends letters to elected officials and federal agencies to share our position on pressing issues that matter to the industry. We sometimes offer opportunities for members to sign and send emails or letters to your members of Congress on important issues as well. And PPAI also provides advice and support for regional associations at the state level. Of course, our flagship event is LEAD. This past year, we also added LEAD Echo. Oh, there's an echo. Sorry, I'm getting feedback on my end. It seems to have stopped. LEAD Echo is a smaller cohort of C-suite leaders. They traveled to Washington for Executive Capitol Hill outreach in February, and that was a really great event to amplify our advocacy further. So last week, almost 70 PPAI members and staff participated in this year's LEAD event. We had 70 meetings with congressional offices, including 8 with the representatives and senators themselves. That's a really strong showing, and we're really excited about that. And now I will hand things over to my colleague Alok, who will talk about PPAI's advocacy efforts over the past year and highlight some of our advocacy wins since LEAD 2025. Over to you, Alok.
Rachel, what I want to focus is on what all of these actually beats beyond LEAD, and more importantly, why it matters to all of us as an industry. One of the biggest misconception about advocacy is that it's driven by one event, which is LEAD. No, the reality is advocacy is continuous. If you go next, yeah, thanks, Rachel. What we are seeing on this slide is about how we all it connects. At the center, it's advocacy. It's powered by multiple efforts working together. Rachel already spoke about LEAD, and which is a foundation lever for us. We have also introduced LEAD Echo, which stands Executive Capitol Hill Outreach. We gave an opportunity for CEOs and C-suite leaders from the top firms as an opportunity to engage at a deeper level with key offices and agencies, including conversations with groups like Department of Commerce, White House. We also got an opportunity to meet America 250 and Freedom 250 teams to understand licensing, compliance, and etc. All of these are possible because we have a strong support in Washington through 3RP. The Thorn Run partners are public affairs, lobbying and public affairs partners. They guide us through our strategy, support through messaging, carry these conversations and forward every day. And then we have tools and resources that we have invested a lot in tools and resources that to amplify our message. We do have GRAC, which Rachel did mention. GRAC is our, gives us industry perspective and help us stay aligned on the issues that matters us the most. We also have Super Friends Network. This is something. These are the relationship and with other association and coalitions, including groups like American Marketing Association, Retail Association, which is NRF, MPI, ASAE, and many others. We are when we work together, our voice becomes more stronger and more credible. So we have seen some wins in this space as well recently. Another area that is becoming increasingly important is the state level advocacy, which a lot of issues of late that we are seeing are not exactly originated from Washington, maybe at the state level, like PFAS and EPR laws, right? And other emerging laws. So this is where we are working very closely with regional association. It's difficult for our team, Rachel and our team, to track at the state level development. So we are trying to bring a stronger framework where we can work with regionals to identify these issues, align our response, and engage before something happens, something becomes a bigger challenge. Uh, so all of these, we have a very strong backbone of media and research and kind of letter campaign and with the marketing support. So the big takeaway is this is less about showing up once in a year. It's about the building an consistent, credible voice for the industry over time. So, over past year, we raised several issues with the lawmakers and agencies. We have seen progress across many of them. Let me take one example, which is Section 301 shipbuilding measures. I want to spend a couple of minutes here because I think it exactly shows how advocacy can work. Not everyone in this industry may have followed this closely, but there was a proposal of Chinese-built ship entering U.S. port, which is proposed fees of around 1 million per port entry, and then later it was changed to $700 per container. For our industry, when shipping cost increase, it can quickly translate into higher landing cost or pressure on margins or and difficult conversations with the customers as well. So what we did was we used full advocacy systems that we leveraged lead where we did a major campaign where all of lead attendees did meet the congressional office. They many I mean they also met a lot of committees in this space. TRP helped us out in bridging this gap, pushing across letters post lead. GRAC helped us in consistent messaging. As I told Super Friends, we joined hands with other associations, many other associations, invested in some research, provided some numbers, and shared all these things to USTR as well. And now, finally, USTR has paused this for a year, and because they have reviewed all our comments and they have engaged with the advisory committees where our lead attendees did go and meet them the last year. So this is how an effective advocacy may look like, and this is where the participation matters. The more voice we have in the room, the more stronger impact it becomes. So we have applied similar approach to AGOA and swag act as well, but with respect to time, I will hand it over to Rachel, who can walk us through the key policy messages we took to Capitol Hill this year. Over to you, Rachel.
All right. Thank you, Alok. Yes, we do want to talk about what we talked about during LEAD last week. To begin with, our biggest message to Congress was who we are as an industry. Branded merchandise directly supports almost 1 million American jobs by our estimate. We are updating those numbers all the time. And we wanted, in particular, this year to fight the old trinkets and trash idea. Yes, we rely on a complex global supply chain that includes a lot of imports, but those blank products we import support American jobs, from shipping and logistics to design and decoration, and of course, sales. Promotional products are just blank vessels when they come off a ship, so the real value of those branded products is created in the US by American workers. And we provide a critical advertising medium for all kinds of organizations, from global brands to local schools and charities to government agencies. We also spoke against efforts to restrict federal agencies to purchasing only merch made in the USA. This is something that pops up from time to time, like last year's Swag Act that Alok mentioned, and it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of our industry. These products are communication tools, and it's the creativity and labor of US-based workers who customize and deliver those items that makes them useful. We also explained that a rule like that would create unintended consequences for federal buyers by restricting the product choices available to them. Another part of our message was what we need. So we segued into what we need to succeed in business. Last year was a roller coaster of rapid fire changes in tariffs and trade policies. You all know this created a lot of confusion and uncertainty is expensive. That proved very costly to many American businesses, especially small firms. And our statistics show that that's about 98% of PPAI members. In lead meetings, the members who attended shared their own stories of how tariffs and uncertainty have impacted them and their businesses and their employees and customers over the past year. And we ask that any future trade policy changes, including tariffs, would be implemented strategically and with adequate time and guidance to adjust and minimize economic disruption. In particular, we ask for long-term renewal of durable trade frameworks like the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA. This is the agreement that replaced NAFTA, and the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA. Both of these trade programs have provided stable and successful frameworks for American businesses, many in our industry, and they both have bipartisan support. In fact, the one-year bipartisan extension of AGOA was a big win for us earlier this year, and during LEAD, we thanked lawmakers and urged them to support a longer-term renewal. That would provide increased stability and predictability for our industry, especially those companies with ties to the continent like Sanmar and Charles River Apparel. While we were in Washington last week, we also heard from our partners there that renewing AGOA is a priority for the United States Trade Representative. So we're hopeful that we'll see even more forward progress on that issue. The other program that we supported, the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, provided important tariff relief for goods from Canada and Mexico last year. That agreement is currently undergoing a scheduled review. So we urge lawmakers to renew it without major changes to help maintain that stability. Some members also expressed support for the Modern Worker Empowerment Act. The independent contractor changes from the Department of Labor cause a problem for a lot of folks, especially in sales in our industry. So the House and Senate each has a bill. They're not quite the same, but they're both titled Modern Worker Empowerment Act. That legislation would provide a clear definition of who is an independent contractor and what that means. It would establish that definition by law rather than at the discretion of the Department of Labor. And now I will turn things back over to Alok for a conversation with Kyle Sanders, who's one of our team leaders with Thorn Run Partners in Washington. They will tell us more about what they're hearing about these issues, why advocacy is so important to our industry, and maybe a little bit about what's on the horizon for the midterms this fall. Over to you, Alok.
Thanks, Rachel. The context is really important because once these issues are raised, the next question becomes what is actually happening in Washington, what's gaining traction, and what should our members be paying attention to. And this is where Chris and Kyle come into picture, where Chris and Kyle are from TRP, our Washington-based lobbying partners and lobbying and public affairs partners. They are in these conversations every day working with the different offices and committees that are shaping this decision. So Chris is at the another meeting at the Capitol. So we have Kyle. Thank you so much for Kyle joining us, Kyle, and great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good to be with you guys.
Thank you. And Rachel walked us through the key issues that we raised at LEAD. From your perspective, which of these issues are getting most attention on the Capitol Hill right now?
Yeah, thanks for that, Alok. So I think first and foremost, I want to stress and emphasize the point that you made, which is that effective advocacy is actually continuous. And it doesn't just happen in a vacuum with one rifle shot. It requires constant monitoring of legislative activity out of the administration, any sort of regulatory burdens that might hamper the industry. Those are all, in our eyes, opportunities for continuous engagement, whether that comes in the shape of a letter writing campaign to a member of Congress who's pushing a bill that we may or may not like, or an opportunity to provide comments for a proposed rule that impacts the industry. Those are continuous opportunities that we monitor for and collaborate with Alok, Rachel, and our GRAC team on best ways to engage from the industry perspective. So in terms of our conversations on the Hill, just a baseline understanding of who we are. We're doing a bit of a rebranding on what it is we are, which is merch. I think that was an effective campaign and one that resonated with some of the younger staff that many of you met with. Trade and tariffs are going to continue to dominate the conversation in Washington for the foreseeable future. And I think it's helpful if you frame that a little bit. And I think we'll get into some specifics there, but the anecdotal and even data that we provide these staffers on how we're impacted by trade negotiations, by the administration's tariff levies, those are the things that I think landed the best with staff. And it always helps when it's constituents carrying the message and not just lobbyists.
Perfect. I think there is a lot of noise around right now around trade and tariff. What should our member actually be attention to? And what is it still too early to play around? I mean, there is the Section 122 mid-year tariff timing. And what's your take, Kyle?
Yeah, one thing is clear. This administration is going to continue to use tariffs as a mechanism to wield influence on the global stage. It has gotten a little more consistent, we'll call it consistent if you can, more stable this year than it certainly was last year. There are some things that are coming down the pike. Rachel mentioned the mandatory review period for USMCA. Those types of things, the sunset deadlines on the newest round of tariffs that the president has levied, those are mechanisms and flashpoints where we're going to continue to see changes. But one thing I think that helps frame the discussion is this administration is doing its best to compete with China on a national security basis. And that is a lot of the tariff pressure. That's where a lot of the tariff pressure is aimed. It's decoupling our supply chain, de-risking our supply chain, onshoring where we can. Some constant themes that this president really leaned into, I think, in his first administration. But I think it's helpful to frame how you're thinking about what can impact your business with that backdrop. China remains a threat on multiple fronts, but national security is certainly the biggest threat. You can get into critical minerals, although you mentioned shipbuilding. There are things this administration wants to try to influence through its trade and tariff policy, and that's not going to stop while Trump's in office.
Great. I think how could this midterm change the policy landscape, and what should our industry be prepared for?
It's a really good question. I think it could change things drastically. If right now it looks as if and as a reminder, the House, the Senate, and the White House are controlled by Republicans. Although the margins are thin, it remains in Republican control. It is very likely that the House will, after November's elections, be ceded to Democrats, and the Democrats will control the House of Representatives. If that is the case, we will see a massive shift in what I like to dub messaging legislation, but there will be opportunities for Democrat-led House to push for new bills limiting the administration's ability to impose tariffs. Now, I call those messaging because if the Senate is controlled by Republicans, it'll still probably just be a messaging exercise that will not go too far, but it will increase pressure and media attention that the administration just frankly doesn't want. There will also be oversight hearings, whether that's with, how there will be an information gathering exercise on how and why the president chose to impose different tariffs. It will also go into, how the tariff refund process is playing out, which companies have and have not requested. There will be a lot of changing of the guard if Democrats take control of the House. And I guess the takeaway there is it'll be scrutinizing the administration in every way possible, particularly as it relates to tariffs on our allies and the president's unilateral tariffs broadly.
I mean, this has been a hot topic right now, and our PPI media and editor team has been doing a great job by keeping up with their tariff refund updates on a daily basis on a ppi.org. But practically speaking, what should our businesses know about this refund right now? And what should they be telling their customers downstream? Because we got a lot of requests that the end buyers or the customers have been asking about the refund. Because I mean, what's your take on this, and what should be our members be aware of?
Yeah, a couple data points there. The administration, the Customs and Border Protection, is where this is housed, rolled out a portal for those who feel they are owed relief to submit requests for refund tariff relief. That rolled out actually when you guys were in Washington, D.C. on the 20th. There's been mixed reviews on how well that's running. We know that there's only been a small percentage of companies who are actually owed refunds who have applied so far. I believe the number is in total is 166 or so billion in refunds that are eligible to go out. A small fraction of those have been applied for. Complicating measures politically. Many of you probably saw the president make a bit of an unveiled threat that he will be remembering who does and who does not request a refund. So I'm sure that muddies the water a little bit. But it's hard for me to provide counsel, like blanketed counsel for members. If I was a small business owner and I felt that I was owed a refund, I would probably be pursuing that refund through the portal. And I can tell you, we don't have a lot of data on that yet. We expect that to come likely by the end of May. The portal will have been up about a month or so, and at least the reporting from the administration is they intend to have a little more clarity on money out the door by that time.
Perfect, Kyle, and keep us posted about this, because this is where our media, our media team and our editor team keeps posted to our membership as well. So my final question is, beyond lead, what's the most effective ways member can stay engaged and support the advocacy efforts throughout the year? You touched base a little bit, but what next that they can do after kind of lead event that we have?
Yeah, you guys do a fantastic job of branding and being memorable, which is not the case with all the folks that I work with. Honestly, Alokis, it's the little things. It's thank you notes, following up with staff. It's based on your conversations, that there's opportunities to recall information or provide updates on how your business is doing based off of X, Y, and Z. That was part of your discussion with staff. Giving us information too. I think arming, working with many trade associations in my line of work, we're only as strong as the data we get from members. So members giving us information that helps us do our job, whether that's relay updates on different policies that are impacting them or administration exercises that are impacting them. Those are touch points that we can then leverage to be in inboxes with staff and reminding them that we are who we are. And again, the lead and lead echo are excellent. Please get involved. Please continue to come. Those things matter. Hearing directly from you, anecdotal stories, that's what resonates. So I can't, thank you guys enough for making that trip, and to look for you guys, you and Rachel organizing that. It really was a success.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Rachel, I'll hand it back to you to hear more from my two of my favorite people in the next section, and we can take questions later.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle and Alok. Now we're going to hear from two of our members. These are both longtime lead participants who joined us in Washington last week. And we will start with Andrea Kramer. She is president of Ohio-based City Apparel and Merch. All yours, Andrea.
Thanks, Rachel. Rachel, I believe you wanted me to share just a few things about my experience. One being, why am I a longtime lead participant? For me, lead is more than just a trip to Capitol Hill. It's about ensuring a voice for our industry where policy decisions are made. As a promotional products or branded merchandise professional, we're directly impacted by legislation surrounding tariffs, small business regulations, tax policy, sustainability, which is really important to all of us, and supply chain issues. And for me, my passion project is, as well, is around workforce development or workforce transformation in our state and in our community.
All right, thank you. What would you say to folks who may be considering attending LEAD but haven't made the leap yet?
Well, I mean, just do it. That's kind of my motto in life. I think that the team at PPAI have done a fantastic job of making it very easy and simple to get ourselves to DC. From the communication that starts earlier in the year about what it looks like, time, logistics, to ongoing communication, to setting up our appointments or assisting us set up appointments with our legislatures, to you guys did an educational day prior to heading out to DC, so we all had a really good understanding of what our schedule looked like and the details, and we had the materials prepared for us as well on what our talking points are. So by the time that we got to DC last Monday, we met, we went over the topics again. And I think that we all felt very well prepared and well spoken about the topics that were important to our industry and to our communities. You made it the easy button for us. So just do it.
Excellent. Thank you. Having been to lead before, did you feel like the reception from those folks that you talked to in the legislative offices were more receptive, the same, less receptive?
I think, I've had a really great experience every time I've attended LEAD, just through connections that I had made prior to or outside of LEAD with legislatures in our community and our state. And I feel like Ohio State showed up like it always does. They were always very open and receptive to the conversations that we were having. Again, PPAI staff made it very simple again, but I think every year it gets better. They're getting more familiar with our messaging, our industry, and the people that continue to show up on Capitol Hill.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Andrea. And we'll turn now to Bill Petrie, who is founder and creative director of Tennessee-based Brand of Eight. He is also a member of PPAI's Government Relations Action Council, or GRAC, that we've mentioned before. So all yours, Bill.
Yeah, I've been on record, I don't know, I kind of am a broken record half the time, but I've been on record for years that I think GRAC and LEAD, essentially the overall advocacy efforts of PPAI is, I would argue, maybe the most important function of PPAI. I've said it a million times when I go to Capitol Hill, and I think I've done this 10 out of the last 11 years, 9 out of the last 10 years, who can count? But what we do there is we really advocate for small businesses through the lens of branded merchandise. And I think that's an important distinction. One of the things I find every year when I go is every staffer we meet with, every representative we meet with, every senator we meet with immediately understands the value of what we do. And as Rachel mentioned earlier, the value is absolutely shifted when it's imported to the United States because it's decorated from a creation from someone in the United States. It is decorated by American workers from the United States. The value of that product is really transformed here. And we went pretty hard with that message. I had the good fortune of having Kyle along with me, so we didn't have to concentrate on the policy stuff. It was so great having someone from Thorn Run with us. Unfortunately, it was Kyle. I'm just kidding. No, it was great having someone from Thorn Run with us to really make sure we hit the key policy discussions, because there is a language there that Andrea doesn't know. I don't know. We go there once a year and it's wonderful and I'm comfortable doing it. But when it starts getting hardcore into policy, I might as well be talking about the pros and cons of hitchhiking. I have no idea what I'm talking about. So it was great having someone from Thorn Run there, but I will tell you our message was universally received and received very well, especially that part of, the value of branded merchandise really shifts and is created right here in the United States. So I don't know if I have any memorable moments. Gosh, it was a gorgeous day. It was a great day to hike back and forth across the hill, which, depending on how your meetings are set, you may have to do. But just, one of the things that I'm always reminded of when we go to Capitol Hill, when we have asks, they are almost universally in alignment on a bipartisan way. Clarity on tariffs, whether you sit on the side of using tariffs as a strategy or tariffs are a bad idea, everybody wants clarity. So when we go in asking for that clarity, yeah, everybody else is too, but it's kind of nice that it's not a partisan issue there. And it's always a reminder, though, that what we do is bring joy. That's what we do. We bring, we are the only advertising medium where the recipient says thank you. And there's very big value in what we do. I tell people all the time, if you haven't attended LEAD and you have an opportunity, you're really missing out, because it really does get you in and help you understand why it's important to advocate for the promotional products industry, the small businesses that encompass 98% of what we do. It's fine to look from afar and say, hey, thank you for going. That's great. We love that support. But don't be afraid to get off the bleachers and get in the game. I'm Bill Petrie, and I approve that message.
Thank you so much, Bill. We appreciate your support. All right, so what now? The fact that you're watching this webinar means you're interested, and advocacy does not have to be difficult or time-consuming. There are so many ways that you can speak up for your industry that don't involve flying to Washington, although we'd love to have you. There are a few key actions anybody can take. So subscribe to our NewsLink email newsletter using that upper QR code there in the corner. That will have updates twice a week on issues that affect your business. You can get involved with your regional association, and I believe there are 26 across the country, so there's lots of opportunity there. You can monitor developments in your own state legislature on issues like PFAS restrictions, extended producer responsibility, and other kinds of regulations. California is always going to be on the vanguard in that, but I believe we're up to like 15 states with PFAS regulations, 7 states with EPR. It's becoming a crazy quilt, and keeping an eye on what's in your own backyard is going to be more and more important. Another thing you can do is apply to join GRAC or attend LEAD. And you can find your members of Congress using that lower QR code. That will take you to the Find My Representative page. You enter your address, your zip code, a little bit of information, and it'll tell you who represents you. You have 1 representative and 2 senators, and you can reach out to those folks with your concerns. If you are interested in LEAD 2027, if you think you might want to join us in Washington next year, you can use that QR code. It's just a real simple form that will let us know who you are, where you are. We will not have the date for that event until after Congress sets its schedule in January. So we're a little bit at their mercy, but it's usually sometime in April. If you are interested in serving on GRAC, you can just email me at rachelz@ppai.org. That is RACHEL, Z as in zebra, at ppai.org. We also want to share some ideas for advocacy in your own backyard. So folks at LEAD invited federal lawmakers and staff to factory or showroom tours, and you can reach out to your own representative and senators. Again, that previous QR code that gives the Find My Representative, that's a good way to do the same thing. You can also invite state and local lawmakers. You can also invite those folks to your regional trade shows or events, like our friends at MIPA who are shown here. Also, every member of Congress has a local office and staff back home. You can request a meeting there anytime. Mostly you'll meet with staff, but you can start asking now for a meeting with the actual member of Congress during the August recess. They all go home to their districts in August, assuming there's no crazy emergency session. That does sometimes happen. But August, they get busy, but it's when they're back home. Now, for those of you in leadership with your regional association, you can engage your local members to contact their members of Congress. You can also keep an eye on those state level developments, like I mentioned, and let PPAI know. Let us know what those issues are in your state. Reaching out to your state level legislators who work in the legislatures with support or concerns, that can be especially effective if you are the one who helped them with their campaign merch. Build on those relationships so that they remember who you are when you have concerns. And we would like to open the floor now for some questions. We've had a couple of questions come in about how LEAD changes from year to year. It's been fairly consistent so far. We are looking to make improvements all the time. A lot of it depends on reacting to what the issues are. So that, what the concerns that we're hearing, the trends that we're seeing in our research, bills that are floated. Like we did hear this year that there was that effort to restrict federal promotional product purchases to only items made in the USA. That has not been filed yet, but we did want to get ahead of that and speak up about it. Let's see, we have another question. Is it possible for me to help shape some of the conversations at LEAD around my company's specific concerns? Sharing, like Kyle said earlier, sharing your story is always going to be something that these lawmakers want to hear about. How these policies seem abstract, but they're not. How does it affect you? How does the change in tariff affect your business? I went around with the Pacific Northwest team, and one of our group had been in some conversations with some of the distributors in her peer network, and they were sharing, pretty significant losses in Q4, which is a big quarter for our industry. Like one business said $250,000 in one quarter, which for a small firm, if that's repeated, that's catastrophic. And that was something that we were able to share with multiple offices so that they understand that there are real costs to these changes that they make. Question about the cost of LEAD. Does PPAI cover the cost of LEAD for members? There is currently no registration fee. There is an application fee and deposit, but that is refunded either if you are not selected to attend or if after you attend. So it's pretty much refunded unless you just don't show up and don't tell us, because we do cover the hotel cost and some of the meals. The cost to you would be your travel. So we'll cover the hotel and, dinner and breakfast, and then costs other than that, it will vary by where you're coming from the country. And we do realize that it's a bit challenging for our folks on the West Coast, but, we do want to make it as easy as we can. I want to find out, do we have any other folks that have we had anything else come into the chat? I'm asking my colleagues who are feeding some of these to me behind the scenes. I'm not seeing any more questions. So, Alok, do you have anything you want to add on any of those?
Rachel, I hear myself. I'd just like to add that on the previous question, the whole purpose and the value that we add by showing up on Capitol Hill is sharing our stories. I mean, everything that we're speaking about is impacting our business and our community in some way. And so, yes, absolutely. The conversation is shaped around what these policies are doing and affecting in your business. So again, I highly encourage everyone to consider if they have an interest, and that's what it's all about, is providing that major impact.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't need to be a policy expert. You don't need to know about the laws. You just need to talk about your business issue. And that's what they want to hear. And that's where Bill and Andrea are best at. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll add one quick thing. One thing I kept reminding myself, because it's easy to fall into this, I got to be a policy guy. I got to know what I'm talking about. It's personal over policy. Kyle and the folks at Thorn Run did such a great job handling policy. They let us be human. And I think so many times people are so scared when they walk in those offices, it's stiff. So we were able to actually really be human. And it was a really, really great experience, as it always is.
All right, I will check that one more time. I don't think we've had any more questions come in, so I'll go ahead and wrap up here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and support, and thanks to Kyle and Andrea and Bill for joining us and sharing their expertise as well.